Welcome everybody. Today it's the next panel discussion in our Culture Cinema Film Festival, which is built around multiple aspects of culture. We had identified 21 different categories of culture that people can relate to. Music is one of them. Before I go ahead, let me tell you a little bit about the main program today. It's a discussion among the eminent names of music in India, and they will talk about the role of music in the films which are culturally relevant, which are cultural and heritage films. So that's a discussion. This panel discussion will be moderated by Mr. Rupert Fernandes. He is a well-known Indian musician and film score composer. He is known for his work on Sarfarosh, the Amir Khan movie. None of us forget. We all remember that movie. And all of us remember the beautiful song of Hutch Vodafone, "You and I in the Beautiful World," the little pug and everything. So it's memorable. It's entrenched in all our memories. Uh, Rupert will moderate the discussion. We have with us Mr. Soumitra Ranade, who is a writer, director, and the producer with a wide range of feature films, TV series, documentaries. We have Mr. Nipun Dharmadhikari. He's an Indian filmmaker, writer, and actor, both in Hindi and Marathi arts. His latest directorial, Me Vasantrao, will be screened at Cannes 2021. We have with us Mr. Rahul Deshpande. He's a renowned Indian classical singer and actor. He also stars in Nipun Dharmadhikari's Me Vasantrao as his grandfather, the great musician Vasantrao Deshpande. So it's a beautiful panel, extremely talented young musicians, artists. Let's welcome them all. And I hand over the baton to Mr. Rupert Fernandes. Take it ahead. Let's have a good next half an hour of creative musical discussion here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Praveen. At the very outset, I'd like to really welcome a very hearty welcome to all our three panelists, esteemed panelists, I must say, Mr. Soumitra, Mr. Nipun, and Mr. Rahul. Really hearty welcome to all of you. Really humbled to be here in your presence. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. Yeah, as we all know, music is a very important and integral part of culture and heritage of every country. So I'd like to have your views on what do you think, Mr. Soumitra, as music and film? How do you? What's your opinion on?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I think that in the prehistoric times, when man started becoming a civilized person, started living in a civilization, in a society, the first steps towards that is actually painting and creating music. Any society which doesn't have music in it is not a civilized society, I think. And it's an integral part of all of us. It is not just culture. It is a lot to do with emotion. It's got to do a lot with feelings. And every society expresses itself musically in different ways. All over the world, you can go into the interiors of the villages, the cities, the urban, the uber urban. Every society has its own ways of expressing itself in a musical way. And I mean, it's like. It's like oxygen, actually. It's like oxygen. How important oxygen is for us to live. So is music.
Oh, beautifully said. I feel we all have experienced this matter of oxygen in the last couple of months. And we know how integral now, as Mr. Soumitra said, music is as important as oxygen. What about you, Mr. Nipun? How do you relate to music and film as an integral process?
I think the roots of our Indian films lie in theatre, and the start of theatre in India, at least in Marathi theatre, it was with musicals, with Sangeet Natak, and with Sita Swayamvar that started in 1850s. and I think that has continued. That gradually that transitioned into films, the culture that we had, and somehow we are not able to let go of that culture, which is. I mean, it works for some films. For some films, it feels as if songs are not needed to take the story forward. They are just there for the purposes of business. But having said that, there is no doubt in my mind that even now in 2021, songs are very important for Indian films, and of course for business purposes as well. And also, it has become like we have only India has this two-act structure of storytelling. We have an interval, like nobody else has that. So similarly, I think in the storytelling format, we have songs which are an integral part, and I don't. It's in our DNA, and I don't think it's going away. And with all its pros and cons, I think we have to not deal. We have to live with this, and we have to see how to tell our stories with this.
Uh, uh, Mr. Rahul, you being a very eminent singer, classical singer, and of course now more so with this film, Me Vasant Rao.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on music and film in general? I'm not talking with respect to this film.
Well, as Nipun put it, I think for me, music and film, they go hand in hand. And as he said, it has started from the musical theaters, the Indian film process. And we used to have these musicals which were, taken from the English opera. And that's why they were musicals, and that translated into the Marathi musical theater. And it was a golden period, I think. And it transferred itself to the films, and I think I can talk about uh, the effect of music, which happened in Hindi films and also in all the regional films. But for me, since I am a classical singer, I think a lot of when the fusion music, as we call today, we perform in fusion concerts and everything. I think the essence of fusion has come through our Hindi films, because all the experiments have happened. Uh, right from the symphonies to concertos, everything has been assimilated in our film, Hindi film music, and it has this calming effect. And I think through the film music, whenever we listen to Lataji, whenever we listen to any of the classics, I think it just calms our mind. It makes us peaceful. And I think that is very necessary, especially in this time. So, yeah, that is what film and music means to me.
Oh, that's great. Brings me to my next question, mainly to, of course, Mr. Soumitra. You have made this film, Gopi Gavaya Bhaga Bajaya. In fact, it's, I think, premiering at the Toronto Film Festival presently. So, what was your premise and what was your thought process when you made this film? What was the essence that you started with?
Yeah, actually, I'm not the filmmaker of that film. One, it's made by Shilpa Ranade. I'm the writer.
Oh yes, yes.
I've written the film, and I'm also the executive producer of the film, and it was executed at my studio, Paperboard. So I do have a very strong association with the film. So it's as the title suggests, it's a musical. And what the music director Narayan Parshuram did for the songs, what he took, he took all kinds of song forms from different traditions. So each song is based on a certain tradition. So it was a very interesting mix of the range of musical traditions that we have here in India. So yeah, I mean, he would have explained it better than I can.
Yes.
Because,
Okay. No, but that's great.
uh,
Uh,
so actually, film music. I'm coming back to what Rahul was saying and Nipun was saying, that the film music, it's, I mean, when it started, the Natya Sangeet, and from then on film music, the original form itself comes from the tribal societies, from the folk societies, because that's how we tell our story traditionally. Like if you go to Gujarat, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, all over the country, when people used to tell stories in a village, it used to be through musical, and the Natya Sangeet itself is a inspired version of that.
like a form of storytelling
Yeah,
through music.
through
Yes,
music.
that's absolutely very integral to our filmmaking as well.
Mm.
Mr. Nipun,
Yep.
whose idea was this to come up with the film Me Vasantra? Was it yours? Was it Mr. Rahul's? Meaning, where did the idea germinate?
I think well, it has been such a long process that I forget, but I think it was still a collaborative process right from the word go, even with
Okay.
the idea. And Rahul was, after establishing himself as a classical singer, he had turned his attention to theatre, and he began this quest of reviving musicals. And people just talk about doing things. He actually went ahead and started producing it, which was a big thing. And I supported him with all the creative aspects, with directing it, with we chose the scripts, and we decided how it would be presented. I mean, because these scripts, they're 5-act plays, and they have
Yes.
nearly, one of them had 90 songs. Now it is not possible to perform such a script in these times. Earlier, when it used to go on from sunset to sunrise, it was possible to do such plays, 5-act plays. So while editing it, I think we sat and we decided, I mean, with Rahul and his friends, we decided which songs are irreplaceable. We have to take them, whatever happens. So once we were through this process, we did nearly 3 plays in 18 months. And then there were some films coming across as well. They were releasing films about music, films about musicians. And because of these plays that we were doing, we were traveling a lot to different parts of Maharashtra while doing it. And we used to listen to Vasant Rao's private recordings. Rahul has an amazing access to so many stories of his. And we used to discuss these anecdotes. And just while discussing, we felt that it's so interesting, the life that he lived. And his story is unheard. Vasant Rao Deshpande, the people the Vasant Rao Deshpande that people know, it's his career that lasted not more than 13 years. So there is a whole lot of nearly 45, 47 years that he has lived before, which is very interesting. His struggle that people have not seen. And then I got down to research, met his parents, his family, read all the articles, heard his interviews. And when I read everything, listened to everything, I realized that there is a story to tell. The one thing that we both were firm on was that we are not going to do a film just for the sake of making a film. If it tells a story, then we should go ahead and do it. And we really found a story in his life that needs to be told. And I think it's now been nearly 8 years to that journey. We were going to
Wow.
release that film in May last year.
Oh, it's
But
been 8 years. Huh?
yeah, I
That's a
mean,
long
right
time.
from the ideation to writing to
Okay.
finding a producer was the
Yeah.
yeah.
As
So
always,
that took
yes.
nearly that took nearly 4 years. So the
Yeah.
remaining 4 years were mostly writing and making, and now waiting. Waiting is taking a lot of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rahul, yes.
Yeah.
How was it collaborating with Nipun on this film? Have you all collaborated before on any previous projects or films or theater?
Actually, as Nipun said, I started. My grandfather was, himself a singer and an actor. So
Yes.
he did this iconic role in Marathi musical called Katyar Kalzat Kusli. And since I was very young, I used to go. My father used to take me to these musicals, and I used to sleep because the kind of presentation which used to happen in front of me was not very interesting for a child, for a young person of maybe 12 or 13 years. I used to be very bored with that. And the songs, I'll tell you, Rupert, they were so iconic, and they was like a part of me growing up. I used to listen to them, and I used to hear them in all these concerts which used to happen that time, which we call it Natya Sangeet,
Yes.
like the music in the musical. So I used to sing them, sing all these Natya Geets, and I felt that I need to revisit and revive this dying art of Marathi musicals, which has seen its golden period in the time of Bal Gandharva, the time of Lataji's father, Master Dinanath Mangeshkar, Keshwara Bhosle. There are so many names I can take, and I wanted somebody to, from this generation, with his own, imagination, to tackle the script. And so, first play that I did was Katyar Kalta Kusti. And after that, we come from the same college, me and Nipun. I'm his senior, and I have seen his a lot of experimental plays, and I loved how the way that he used to, explore a script. And I felt that if he was, I think he was not more than 23 or 24 when we did our first musical together. It was Sanshay Kallol,
Oh,
and he loved it. And as you said, that he himself has learned music when he was in school, so he also knew about the music. So I love the way that he explored, and I love the way that he uh, took it out from all of us. We were not seasoned actors. I don't consider myself. I'm a very established classical singer, but the the process was so interesting. The process, actually, I enjoyed the process more than the actual play.
Okay.
And after that, we did two plays together. And I remember, since I'm talking about 8, 9 years ago, we did the first play. And then, as Nipun said, we were traveling somewhere, and we were just having this discussion that can we do this into a movie, the life of my grandfather? And he said, absolutely, we can. And he came up with us. We had a lot of brainstorming sessions. Then he came up with the screenplay, the script, and everything. And we used to narrate it to a lot of people, and everybody used to love it, but they were not confident. See, this is the same thing which happened when I started to do Marathi musical. I couldn't find a producer, and then I decided to do it on my own. But I am not, that resourceful personally, so I couldn't produce my own film. That's the reason that it took a while for us to find a producer. But I think everything takes time. So uh, we found a very genuine person who wanted to back this project. And then the creative process was, I cannot tell you how enjoyable it was.
Oh,
We
I'm
had a
sure.
lot of arguments. But again, as I respect the hierarchy of this, director is always the captain. And actually, I did the music for this first time. I've never composed anything. And we tried many music directors, but somehow it just did not work. Also, a few big names who were interested in doing that, but it couldn't work out. And as I was not sure of, composing, there was this song. I think it was a ghazal, uh, and I composed 7 different tunes for that, because, as I said, as a singer, I know I can present something confidently. But as a composer, I did not know that this is good or not, because uh, you cannot be a third person and judge your own composition. That's what I feel, because
Absolutely.
it's my first film. So I took it to Nipun. I took it to many different people. So they used to like different versions of what I composed. And then Nipun used to pick, Rahul Dada, let's do this. And I still remember we were shooting, and there was this very, very critical song between two characters. And it had just come to me, and we had to shoot the song. I think the next day, and I composed it and I took it to Nipun, and I was very confident. कि, अरे ये तो बहुत अच्छा हो गया. And he was, I think, he was directing a shot, and he heard the song, and he didn't say anything. And I was there like, what happened? You're not happy with the shot? And after the shot, he didn't. He was just sitting there, and he told me, I don't like the tune. Everything is right, but the tune is absolutely wrong. I was like, Nipun, we have to shoot this tomorrow. And then I was doing my makeup for my, my scene, my shot. And that time I put on my this apna iPhone voice recorder, and I did a tune in my head, and I did a routine of that. And after the shot, I took it to Nipun and I said that please listen to this. And he was like, yes, I want this. This is very good.
Wow.
And actually, how we shot it was the version that I had sung on the voice recorder. That's how we shot the entire thing. And then we went to the studio, and then we got it arranged, and then we did that.
Oh, wow. That's really a wonderful yeah.
Actually,
really
and we have actually 22 songs in this movie. So
Wow.
yeah, that is
Achha.
that is very memorable for me.
Oh, wow. Brings me to my next question. Meaning, when we think of music and at the core of culture and heritage films, we always think of the traditional approach and, the analog days. I want to ask you and get your viewpoint on how do you see modernism coming into this aspect of music, modernism, whether it's a good thing or whether it's a bad thing, whether we should have stuck to,
If you ask me,
please go on.
I have a interesting take on this, because I have sung many, recently, maybe for the past, since this lockdown has kicked in, I've done a lot of recordings. I've started my own YouTube channel where I have learned on my, I've self-learned a few things. I didn't know how to play the keyboard. I didn't even know what is logic and everything. So I've tried to make sense of it, and then I now record my own songs and I put it on YouTube. So the plus point of technology is that we can do a lot now. So now we can, what is the word? We can play with sounds, which in the analog days, you come with an analog instrument, you come with your own voice. And otherwise there were no synthesized sounds that time. So I think that's something which is convenient these days. And also for a singer, I think it's very, very easy these days. If you are not, you can do one line, you can even do one word. So as a singer, if you ask me, I'll tell you one more experience that I had. See, nowadays, the two things are very, very, very integral for a recording. It's called melodyne and auto-tune. Okay. So as a classical singer, it's something like a crime, or, it's like a sin to even think about it. And singers of this generation, they're absolutely fine with everything. I don't say it's wrong or right. I think it's today's technology which has come. And I remember we were doing a dubbing with Shreya Ghoshal ji. And I was explaining the song to her, and she sang everything, and we listened to it, and there was a particular phrase that she was not very happy about. So I said, Shreya ji, we can, don't worry about it. We can let Vijay, the sound engineer, he'll take care of it. So she said, Rahul ji, कम से कम आप तो ऐसा मत कहिए, मैं वापस जाके डब करती हूँ, क्योंकि ये ऐसा नहीं, मुझको अच्छा नहीं लगेगा. So I think why she is so popular is because she is very honest to the art.
Yes, absolutely. Let me, sorry to interrupt. Mr. Soumitra, what's your take on, modernism, whether you really you like the modern process of film creation and music and all that, or you would rather go with the older
Yeah.
feel?
So actually, modernism. When you talk about modernism, it's not not only technology. You know, technology, of course, is one important part of it. But I think it's the approach towards your art. You know, that is more important. I'm not a purist in any. I practice 2-3 art forms. I'm an illustrator. I'm a designer. I'm a filmmaker, and I'm also a writer and photographer. I mean, I do all kinds of things. So in all of these, in all the arts that I pursue, I do look at always trying to evolve something new, and I think that's the only way that art can progress. Well, there are a lot of musicians I know who are purists and who don't really like this whole new ways of seeing and listening. You know, I mean, it's not how you, it's not only how you're creating music now, it is also how you're listening to music. You know, that is also going to define it. The kind of music you're going to do. It's about what is the world that we're living in. What are our social concerns? What are our cultural concerns? The outsider, insider. I mean, there's a whole lot of debate going on, and this has to reflect in the art that we do. So I'm completely on for modernism. I think that's the only way forward.
Going to Mr. Nipun, your opinion. Did you really enjoy do you really enjoy rather the modern filmmaking process in terms of everything, music, filmmaking, directing?
I mean, that is the only process I know, very honestly, because I have not worked in an era where films were shot on film. And I have heard about it from many people, and some people also talking about it romantically, like the warmth, and I've heard a lot about it, and of course I've watched films which have been shot on film and analog systems for sound and music. But having said that, I think the digital format does give me a lot of flexibility, and which is very important, especially when you're making a film on a tighter budget, say. That is one thing. Right. Also, secondly, having said, let me put budget aside for a bit. Having said this, I always come back to the fact is, does the story demand modernism, or does the story demand, going back to roots? Because, for example, I mean, I've heard, I mean, I'm not the right person, I'm not an expert in this, but I've heard that Hans Zimmer, he revolutionized music in Hollywood with his sounds and the kind of music that he did. Now, the films that I've heard for which he has provided a background, they are unique. I mean, the kind of mood that he creates, the tension that he creates for Christopher Nolan films, it's unique, and it wouldn't have happened otherwise, I feel. So, if it is working together, if there is synergy which is being created, then yeah, sure, why not?
Oh, really great insight into that. What I like to
actually, I mean, good thing that he gave a very good example of a modern musician. You know, because when people speak again modernism, they usually give terrible examples. They usually give terrible examples, and I'm sure 100 years back there were terrible singers also. Yeah, I mean, it's not that all the singers were great at that time. So yeah, good.
Correct, but do you think in a way that this modernism has affected the authenticity of music or the soul of music, which was there before?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. See, the soul is not a static thing. It is a moving thing. It's an organic thing. It has to be moving forward or backward, left, right. It has to be. It has to have energy. You know, otherwise it becomes a dead soul. So if we didn't have this, from the folk music to Natya Sangeet to the music, and within music earlier, it was all these musicians that R.D. Burman came, and then so all this is happening because the soul is moving, right?
Okay, brings me to my next question to all of you rather. Since we are at this topic of music at the core of cultural and heritage films, now it's been a perception that the modern generation has distanced itself from culture and heritage and tradition. So how, in your opinion, are we going to facilitate that? Meaning, getting that that culture and heritage of our country, which is more specific to us, to the modern generation, because the modern generation is into perhaps Instagram and the technologies of life. But how does one get cultural films, cultural music into the modern realm of things? Mr. Rahul?
I feel, see, when I was growing up, there was this era of remixes where, old songs were being presented in a different way, which as a teenager I used to enjoy. It was old melody, which was packaged in a different way, sung by a different singer. I don't even know who. But I used to enjoy that, not the videos, but the songs I used to enjoy, sung by Shan, by Shankarji.
Sort of a remix version.
Sort of a, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think somewhere in, I cannot say exactly which time period, but it was being said that classical music is losing its audience now. The younger generation is not taking interest into good music.
That's right.
So I think I beg to differ on that. I think whatever is good always remains good, and it always has a certain place in the society. So to start with, classical has always been for the classes. It has never been for the masses, and still it is being listened to. But I think for popularizing or for making it, I don't like the word massive, but making it more accessible to everyone. I think films. The medium of films is the most effective way to spread it across platforms. So I think a film like Katyar Kalza Kusi, which happened 5-6 years ago, made this huge impact on today's kids, because now kids come to me and they want to learn classical music, they want to know about classical, they want to sing classical music. It has only happened because of certain films. So I think if we are able to put out the right content, if we have to preserve the culture and everything, I think there will be audience for.
Beautifully said. I think yes.
Yeah.
Beautifully said, Mr. Nipun. What's your thought on this? How does one get?
Yeah, no, I
Please
echo Rahul's thoughts, and there are some things that you're not going to be able to put a stop to, like because of social media. I mean, there is going to be globalization. People are going to be introduced to newer forms. There are a lot of teenagers who are introduced to K-pop, and they are pretty crazy about it. And but I think we should believe in the art form itself. I mean, if it is to if it has the strength to stand by on its own with and create its own identity in this world of and a plethora of things that are being pushed on the audience right now, then it will. You can't force a culture on someone, I think, especially in a democratic society. So, and I also agree to what Rahul has said, is that there definitely are, in the younger generation, we have a lot of audience still for the musicals, for classical music, for theatre. I mean, theatre is such a good example. Theatre has been, there have been so many onslaughts on theatre through the technological inventions, like till now, I mean, till TikTok. Movie stars are threatened by, say, TikTokers, because suddenly they have a wider audience, and it's free to watch. But still, they stand on their own. The real movie stars, whenever they make a film, people go and watch it. So I think we should believe in our own art form, and if it is strong enough, it will stand the test of time. I don't think we should worry about that. I think
Oh, wonderful.
theater has given me that much. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, wonderful. Just a question to Mr. Soumitra and Mr. Nipun. Has it ever crossed your mind to make a film without music or without background music?
Actually, I made my diploma film in FTI when I was there. It was my it's a half-an-hour film as a course-ending film. I didn't use any music in that. Actually,
Totally silent.
No, I created sounds.
Okay.
So there's a composer by the name of Stockhausen. These guys would know him.
Yes.
Rahul and Nipun would know him. So I was completely into him at that time, and I recorded all the sounds, and then we created the kind of a musical track, but it didn't have the musicality in it. It had more of a rhythm of its own, so yeah, I've already done that, but it's very difficult, as they said, that music is a very integral part of your viewing experience, and not to have any music in a film is a very risky thing for a producer. People will freak out if you tell them कि इसमें कोई music नहीं होने वाला, so वो possible नहीं, unless you're really doing a very experimental independent film.
Oh,
Would
yes.
love to do it. I would love to do it. Yes.
Unless you have like a Charlie Chaplin, a film like that. What
No,
about
Charlie
Even that
Chaplin?
is music though.
No, Chaplin was the high point of music, actually.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
there are some films which were totally silent.
Ekdam earlier.
Yes, earlier
early
films.
shots, earlier
Totally
shots.
silent. It was sort of incumbent on the actor, to really express himself.
Yes.
Mr. Nipun, your thought on ever creating a...
I'm not a big fan of lip syncing and the songs that are being played. Of course, the two films that I made before Vasant Rao, they had two songs each, but none of the actors ever sang it. It was used as a background score. And with Vasant Rao, it just changed the game for me. I mean, all the songs were lip sync songs. And but again, they were what the story demanded. Again, I'll come back to the story. If a story is such that it doesn't demand music, I will not use it. And but music can come as part of the sound design, of course. But if I mean, as a part of the ambience, and there have been films, TV shows that haven't used music actively, and they work beautifully. I mean, one of my most favorite TV shows is The Wire, and it does not have music at all. And after I watched all the 5 seasons, the second time I realized that there was no music. The first time that I watched, I was so engrossed with the story that I didn't even realize that there was no music. So, I mean, if the story requires it, of course there will be music. But I'm completely open to the idea of doing something which doesn't have music. That's it.
Wow, I think we had a great discussion on the music and its essence in cultural and heritage films. My last question to all of you is, what change would you like to see implemented, maybe at the government level, maybe in terms of aid or in whatever terms, to see that music and cultural films and cultural music also is brought forth to the masses and it becomes more popular with the masses? What do you think should be implemented? Because as of now, I think it's on the decline.
Where do we
Rahul?
start? I mean,
See, what I feel is when I started to do Marathi musicals, people were saying there are no audience for left for Marathi Sangeet Natak. And I did not accept any aid from that time. I think the government was giving some kind of aid for Marathi musicals, but I didn't accept that. And I was very fortunate, like me and Nipun, that the audience supported us and they really loved the presentation that we did. So I think, see, government, for me, I don't depend on the government at all because they only make promises and they're very good at making promises and proclamations. That's what I feel. And that's why I don't feel that even if the government does anything, the government, I think, gives some kind of grant for things.
No,
But
I would need to say, meaning, how would you see, how would you like to promote cultural, Marathi cultural films or music? How do you like to see it promoted?
I think if we can get the right access to the right audiences, and if for that, if the government or any machinery helps us out, because at the end of the day, even if you advertise it, or I don't know, if you even get the theaters somehow for regional theaters, regional films, it's very difficult, especially Marathi films in Maharashtra, because we have Bollywood right in Bombay, in Mumbai. So that's why it becomes very difficult for a Marathi film to stand against a Hindi film. But these days, good Marathi films are standing on its own.
Yes, absolutely.
So
I agree.
then I still believe that content is the king, and we'll
That's
get
right.
audiences from this.
That's right. Mr. Soumitra?
So I think one way that the government can actually contribute towards the culture is by staying away from it. Actually, I'm not talking about a particular government, this government or that government and all that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the governments across the world. Because they do far more harm to the culture, to the indigenous culture of their own countries than actually contribute something, because they're like you said, I mean, their whole agenda is different. It is oriented towards the elections, as a principal thing. It's about elections and who's going to win. And culture is exactly opposite that, because the culture is not a 4-year term. It's not a 4-5-year term. It's a lifelong commitment towards an art world. So the government should allow the artist to work. But that's it. They should not put in any things, ki ye allowed nahi, wo allowed nahi. They should just allow the artist to do it. Like he made a film of his own here. I mean, hats off to him. He's not going to any government for some grants one. And the only way that we can reach out is to make films, more films. We have to keep on. See, I started with animation about 10 years back. Not a single Indian animation film had gone abroad for an international film festival. It was after we did it once, twice. It's not financially viable for us, but we have to keep on doing it. We have to do it, man. I mean, that's the only way that culture can actually kind of spread.
Beautifully said. I think beautifully said. Mr. Nipun,
I think
do you have any opinion?
it should have ended with what Soumitra said actually, but having said this, I'll just speak with regards to promotion of films and culture. And I would right now I feel that venues is what we are missing right now. And there should be venues in every village, every taluka level, every district level, and government should make sure that there is something going on over there and there is a general exchange of cultures and ideas happening over there as well. So if there is a venue in Pune, in all the villages of Pune, there should be people from Jalgaon who should come here and they should be performing. There should be people coming in from South India, from North India, and we should
like
know about
every.
There should be an exchange, there should be a connection, and this should be facilitated at the government level. And whatever content that is being made, like Soumitra said, I completely agree. Just leave it to the artist, please.
Beautifully. I think on that note, I guess we should we end the discussion on this beautiful exchange of opinions. And thank you once again. Thank you, your all of you, Mr. Rahul, Mr. Soumitra, Mr. Nipun, and Mr. Praveen, of course, for sort of getting it all together. Thank you once again, and looking forward to feeling the music rather than facing it.
Seeing the film, I'm really looking forward to seeing your film, Rahul and Nipun. Yeah.
Thank you so
Oh,
much.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, and
Thank
God bless you all. Wish you all the very
Thank you,
best.
Rupert.
Thank you very
Good,
much.
good.
All the
Good
best.
discussion. I must say that there was no music in the whole conversation of last 1 hour, but it was pretty musical.
Yes, exactly what I said. We felt the music rather than faced it.
We felt the music. I think all of us in the country and the world should feel that music, and the music should be able to bind us together. Love, respect for each other's cultures, bring more attachment, bring more of togetherness. That is the whole idea and the objective that we have this festival going on. And thank you very much. Thank you for everybody for sparing the valuable time.
Thank you.
It's a journey we started. Hopefully, we'll meet soon again on more things, new things, and that's where we'll end this conversation of today. Thank you again.